Hey there, check this out.
Will you choose you? You cannot help anybody else choose themselves. We all have to be witness to our own divinity. And to do that, we have to move past whatever preconceived notion we've created about our identity. Trust that the pain you've been through, I'm so sorry. And it was there to awaken you, not take you out.
This is Now Tell Us. I'm your host, Anthony Morore. Today, we have a guest with us who is known as Jessie Torres. She's going to tell us about turning pain into purpose, passion, and impact. As always, this is always an interesting time to have a conversation. And if you're as excited for this episode as I am, join me as we go together and meet Jessie. Here we go. Hello, Jessie.
Hello. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Anthony, for having me.
welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yes, and sorry, I didn't get your second name the very perfect way you'd like me to. Now you're gonna tell us who your full read us your full name. I see there is also a third name in there. Put it. Oh, that's a word in there.
Jessie Fierce Grace Torres. I put Fierce Grace in there because that's the concept of helping us step into our power.
Wow, that's cool. Now, where are you?
I'm in Idaho.
Hmm. And how is it
Yeah,
there?
it is beautiful. The weather here is just lovely. It's brisk, but the sun is out and it's just gorgeous. I love it.
Yeah, I used to hear that state being mentioned by one of my favorite personal development person known as Jim Rohn. He said,
Mhm.
I was in Idaho. The way he pronounced it, it was just cool. And it stuck in my mind the way he used to tell stories about the time he was growing up, the challenges he was facing, how he had to learn an extra skill. Interesting.
Mhm.
You know something about Jim Rohn?
Oh yes, for sure, for sure. I've listened to a lot of stuff for sure. Yeah, great
Okay.
guy, great leader in personal development.
Yeah. So tell us about Jessie. Who is Jessie for the audience to know?
Who is Jessie? That's a big question. But honestly, I'm just a woman that's passionate about helping people come out of suffering, to really see, a part of their journey or whatever trauma they've experienced as one of the monumental moments that created the beautiful human that is here today, and that we don't have to be limited by our past. We can actually be empowered by it if we choose to see it differently. And I'm excited to be able to bring people to no longer have to be handcuffed by what happened to them and to come to a place of limitless potential.
And that's cool. I love that. And talking about pain, talking about coming from that place where we've faced challenges, I know, and it would be good for our audience to know where you are coming from, what you've experienced, and how you came out of it. And this is going to be a wonderful time to share with you as you tell us. Yeah,
For
go ahead.
sure. I come from a history of childhood sexual abuse with my father. Tried to tell my mom when I was 16, and I apologize. I'm trying to come out of a cold, so I apologize for my voice. But trying to tell her when I was 16, and my words being turned around. I used the word molestar in Spanish means to bother or annoy, and my words were twisted. And my mom never spoke to me about it again. So for the next 2 years, I proceeded to continue to run and hide from my father. In that, I met a man who actually was witness to what was going on in a moment that he brought me home late from a date. And because when I turned 18, I rebelled, and I told, I knew that I was going to do everything my dad didn't want me to do. And
Mhm.
so he said, be home at midnight. I'll be home at 2, and I was just like, didn't want to be at the house because I was fighting him off. My mom would cry, but, you know, she didn't, she didn't understand, and I didn't know how to tell her. And at this stage, right? Because I tried at 16. So when he brought me home late that night, my dad was standing out on the porch, and he said, "You get out." And he looked at me and said, "You get in this house," and proceeded to be angry and berate me throughout the night. But the next day, my then boyfriend asked me, "What's up with your dad?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He was angry because you brought me home late. And he said, "No, that was not an angry father. That was a jealous man." And with that statement alone, he opened up Pandora's box in me that had me share everything I was going through, because nobody had ever named it. Nobody ever called it or knew. And the moment that he was willing to still want to be with me and love me, I fell in love. Like I couldn't believe that after knowing what I had interpreted as all my dirty, all my shame, all my ugly, that he still wanted to be with me. It blew me away. And because I had felt that, no one would ever love me. I was damaged goods. I was, nobody would ever want a woman that was touched by her father. And that's how I interpreted it. And so, again, we're meaning making machines, right? We start to have our experiences and then we make meaning around it. So for me, I made the meaning that no one would ever love me. So when he stepped into my world and loved me, knowing everything, I was madly in love.
Mhm.
And I want to preface the next part of this story. I want the audience to know that I harbor zero anger or zero resentment toward my father or my ex-husband. I have nothing but love and forgiveness. And I believe everything was divinely choreographed for me. And so this isn't a story of villainizing my dad or my mom or my ex. This is a story of a woman that experienced these things and was able to get to the other side of it and create an empowering life. And that's my outcome. So when my then boyfriend, I fell madly in love, I wanted to be with him, and I was still running from my dad at home. I wanted to move in with him. And my mom, she's of Catholic faith, and which totally fine. However, for her daughter to live with a man and not be married was not acceptable. So I moved out Monday. I was married Friday. And from that instant began a relationship of two like beautiful souls that were madly in love, but young and didn't know the emotional consequence that we were bringing into this marriage, right? So he had his own story of being raised by an alcoholic mother. He was the youngest of 4, the only boy. He came home to his sisters unconscious on the floor because their mom went in a rage, right? And so there was a lot of trauma in his world. And so when we met, we thought, he said, "I'll never let my kids see me drunk." And I said, "My kids will never be molested." And we thought we fixed it. Right. So we enter this marriage unknowing that I learned to be a pleaser, because my father, when he didn't get his way with me, he would punish my mom and my brother. He didn't do anything to me. He would be on them. And so as a little girl, I took that as my responsibility. I was responsible for either the yelling and screaming or the joy in the family. Because when he did get his way, it would be Peruvian music playing everywhere, and he would be buying breakfast for everybody. And so I realized that I needed to just like suck it up and not fight him off, because then others won't get hurt. So that developed a pleaser in me and a wanting to keep the peace. And so in my marriage, we did create the dream. We dreamed about the white picket fence, the dog, and the kids. We did that. However, in the context of our relationship, my ex only knew how to communicate through vulgarity, anger, and rage, because that's how he was raised. And so, just insults and, verbal, emotional, mental abuse. And it got to a point where I just was a physical body walking. I didn't want to live anymore. The only reason I was alive was because of my kids, because otherwise I would have taken my own life, but I couldn't do that to them. And throughout our journey, we also had a stream of multiple deaths that happened in our family. from my his uncle, who was six and a half, lived worked on the Puget Sound in Washington. He walked on the shipyard, and those big metal balls with the hook on the bottom fell on his head. Just fell on his head. He happened to be under it at the right time, and it's just tragic. He was such a sweet man. Then my husband's partner, who was on bike detail, got home from LAPD, and he got home from work, popped in a John Wayne movie, and had an aneurysm and died. And he was like 30, I think he was 35, and left 2 children, a 6 and a 4-year-old, you know, and then we got that horrific knock on the door in the middle of the night to hear that my husband's sister had committed suicide. And then 1 year later, my older brother was murdered. And so we literally had 4 deaths that were just catastrophic in unusual ways. And so it was another jolt, right? And so all these heightened emotions it just got to the point where I was just numb. I was numb, and there was nothing left inside me. And from that, I actually took a community college course because I wanted to expand myself. I was a stay-at-home mom. I worked, but part-time, and I started little businesses here and there, but I wanted something bigger, a bigger purpose. And I took this class, and in this class, my ex was very controlling and very jealous. And so if I went to the grocery store in shorts in 102-degree weather, I was in trouble, right? I was all these horrific names. And so from that, I was very scared and timid, but I was able to take this class, even though it terrified me. And what happened is these people behaved in a way that was kind. And I didn't know what it meant. It short-circuited me. You know, they were being kind to me. I did a video montage. They all put money in and bought me a Best Buy card, which seems like this tiny little thing. But to me, it was everything, because my father had told me, people, you can't trust them. They just want to get in your pants, right? Because that's what he was doing. And my husband said, people subconsciously want to break up a good thing, so don't talk about our marriage to anybody, right? So I always thought everybody is out to get me. And when these people were kind for no reason, it short-circuited me. And I was like, I don't know what this feeling is. But what I know is that when I feel it, I'm alive. And if this feeling is available, then life is worth living. And at home, I was dead. And so that was the moment that triggered me the ability to get out of my marriage. And from that, created an insatiable hunger to understand human development. I wanted to understand why my dad did what he did, why my mom ignored it, why my husband did what he did, and why I allowed it. And I started to pick up books. I started to go to seminars, workshops. I was going to therapy. I did everything I could to understand the human being and why we create limitation. And to fast forward to this day, you know, I had to use every resource to turn my pain into purpose and passion, because November of last year, so 3 months ago, my little brother was murdered. And again, I've been hit with tragedy. And I got to tell you, if I didn't believe in what I'm saying, that would have taken me out. It's like I had to pull in all the resources that I have, all the understanding, the belief systems that I've created in my journey to be able to navigate yet another tragic event that just totally floored me. And so I'm very passionate in all of my study. I've gone through, you know, coaches training certification. I've been a Tony Robbins coach for 7 years. I meditation instructor certification. I apprenticed for a shaman for a year. Like I've done all these things to get it, but nothing has taught me as much as my own journey of pain. And to be witness to not just the pain, but the other side of the story, the courageous little girl that was building traps because her dad was coming into her room. And I'm witness to her courage and her resilience and her perseverance and her creativity. And that is also true. And so how can we rewrite the story of our darkest moment and turn it into a beacon of light that helps us recognize that we are the divine perfection that we were when we first took our first breath? And that's my goal.
Whoa. You've been through quite a lot. And I can almost feel your pain. Although You're yourself, I'm myself, and your pains and the listener's pains could be different, but we all go through some pains, and
That's right.
sometimes it can get us out. It can just trample us on the floor, and so for you to have the strength to keep on moving, and then turning back and coming and encouraging someone who might be going through the same pain, or who may have gone through some pain that is so hard for him or her, that's good of you. We thank you for still standing, for still fighting on.
Thank
It's
you.
just good of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, I can see that experience of moving from, it's like they say, moving like from the frying pan into the fire. And at that point, when you decided to take a course, was there someone who directed you there, or did it just come out of itself? Why were you in contact with people who are influencing you to look into the positive side of life, or how did it happen for you?
It started with just having conversations, but it also started with me being a seeker, right?
Mhm,
Wanting to understand. And God bless all authors out there because, it's a value. Somebody writes about their journey, their story, and it helps open me up. One of the very first books I read was The Unmistakable Touch of Grace by Cheryl Richardson.
mhm,
And, just reading that book, I thought, wow, like there's there's hope for me, like,
mhm,
right, I didn't know how to believe any differently than I had ever been. So I opened this book and it's giving me a different perspective, and I was like, wow, I can be enough. Like, I don't have to be governed by my past. It's like people say your past doesn't equal the future.
mhm,
I disagree. It can, if you pull the gifts from it,
mhm,
right? Because I believe that we're all on a unique journey of our own, and that everybody's depth of darkness is converse to the height of their light. And
mhm,
if they can see and be witness to that and seek the light in even the darkest moments, they will find it because it's always available. Right? Like, I
mhm,
use Mr. Rogers' quote, which I love and I've shared many, many times. But he, when 9/11 hit, and parents were watching, the planes hit the twin towers over and over and over again, the children were getting scared. And
mhm,
so Mr. Rogers gets down to the children's level and he tells them, he says, you know what? Whenever there is chaos, there is always helpers. Look for the helpers, right? And so in the moment of catastrophic events, there's a firefighter running into the fire, right? There's another human being holding somebody else's hand who they don't even know, but because they're injured, they're there for them. Like, there's a
mhm,
lot of beauty woven in the midst of the darkness if we choose to seek it. But
mhm,
sometimes the darkness can be so big, or the pain can be so profound, that we don't see anything else but that. And
mhm,
my invitation is that you have to look for the light, because if you don't, you will only remember the pain.
mhm. Wow. And you remind us that for those who search, they will always find. So it's a matter of perspective. In whatever it is that you're going through, or what you may have gone through in the past, you've got to be intentional about what you look for. What is it that you seek for? Because that's what you're gonna find. And it may come just from a simple episode like this one that we are doing, and you get a word or two that can change your perspective, and hence the direction that you're taking, that is going to end you into a better position tomorrow than you were yesterday. And this we take from Jessie. She's been through quite a lot. She still affords that smile. She affords that courage to come and share her story, just to encourage you and to tell you, keep on moving. Now, from your profile, and it's good that you're mentioning things to do with faith. You talk about God doesn't waste any pain.
Mhm. Yeah.
Tell us about that, more about
I
that.
believe that. I believe that to be true. When my older brother was murdered, I turned my back on God.
Mm,
I I was very angry, and I thought, what if there's nothing? What if you
Mm,
don't exist? What if we just get buried 6 feet under with worms crawling out of our eye hole? And I was furious. I couldn't imagine that a God would take what I consider to be my only safety in life. My
mm,
brother was my protector. My brother was the one that would hold my hand at night when I was scared. And um, with my little brother, I am leaning in to my faith. And I have a very strong belief that everything happens for our highest and greatest good, even the
mhm,
suffering, even the suck. And if God doesn't waste the pain, then for whatever reason, this is what God believes should happen in my human experience, to lose
mhm,
both my brothers. Then there's something he's wanting me to see, something, he's a gift in here. Maybe he wants me to have deeper conviction to speak to you today. Maybe he wants me to have more passion in serving humanity. Maybe he wants me to see another part of my brother that I'm finding all these things about him that I'm just in love with and want to speak on. I don't know, but God doesn't waste the pain. We do if we choose to. So
mm,
you have to look for the good and ask yourself, what is good about this? And trust me when I tell you, I know that there's been some tragic events, and there's been people that have gone through some very horrific things.
mm,
And when I say to find the gift, and you tell me you've been gang raped, you might say there's no gift in that, right? How
mhm,
could I find the gift, right? But here's the gift. The gift is you're still here. The gift is that you're still a kind woman. You still show up in love and service. You still care. Like, there is a courage in you that says, I'm going to keep going after such a tragic event. There's a resilience in you. There's a perseverance. That is also beautiful. When I lost my brother and I needed to keep going, when I went through all of that, and I had to build traps for my father, I if God could whisper and he'd say, I know that this really hurts right now, but if you knew what's coming, you would know why I need you to build courage, why I need you to build resourcefulness and creativity, why I need you to build resilience, because I know what's coming. You don't, but I need to give you this impact so that you can build that muscle. Because later on, when I was getting divorced and I was having to find a place for my kids and I to live, I needed resourcefulness. I needed creativity. I didn't know that was going to happen. I couldn't
mm,
imagine it. And so
mhm,
there's always a gift woven. The pain is not wasted. And so I encourage you to seek for it, because it's there, even in the darkest moments. And for whatever happened to you, I am sorry. And I'm not saying it was right. And I'm not saying there's justification. I'm just saying there's another part of you that showed up and got up. Remember that.
remember that. Now you remind me of seed, 'cause I grew up in a farm, and I know many people have this experience. Oh, when you take a seed and you put it in the ground, you cover it with soil, and it's damp there. Some mud is in there. More water come. The seed has two choices: either to rot or to grow some roots and sprout. Now you tell us, or you remind us, Jesse, that at the point of being buried, that's the point of being planted, to spring up into a new shoot, to grow into a big tree and produce fruit, to keep on growing. So, as long as we have that spirit in us, as long as we have life when we find ourselves buried, through the challenges that we face, through the problems that come to us, as long as we have that life within us and choose life, choose to shine, choose to look at the positive side of life, then we can always be productive tomorrow. We can always be a benefit to someone there out. And this is what you're doing. This is exactly what you're doing. And we thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anthony. And thank you for speaking this into so many
Mm,
via, this vessel. I appreciate you for being one of the ones that would step out and bring this to the world, because it's so important. We need each other. We need to be able to arm in arm. We're not meant to go it alone. And so if there's anything here that lands that helps support you, just know that you're not alone. And you speak on it, talk about it. shame is what I believe is the cosmic joke. And sometimes we don't share because we're ashamed of what we went through. And,
Mm,
you are created in God's eyes, in the presence of this beautiful divinity, and nothing has changed.
mm,
Nothing. It doesn't matter what happened to you. You are still that beautiful divinity. And if you're witness to that, you can share and explain, so you can start to process some of your pain, and you can see through those lenses and trust that you have the power to serve somebody. Just like you were saying, Anthony, you'd make a different decision to still show up kind, because you don't know what people are experiencing. You don't know what bombs are going off in their life. Those
mhm,
people that were kind to me, they didn't know that I was suffering in my marriage. They were
mhm,
just being kind, and they'll never know that their kindness triggered me. It lit that little light that was left in there. It ignited it in a way that made me choose life. I was praying for someone to blow the red light, but their
mhm.
act of kindness, and they'll never know. And sometimes we don't get to know, but we get to behave, and we get to show up and trust that your ability to be a kind human being can change the trajectory of someone's life. And you have no idea who you might wake up like those people did for me.
That's cool. And thank you very much for that, Jesse. And I'll take a quote from one of the quotes from your profile. It says that once a spirit is awakened, the potential of each and every one of us is limitless. So once again, I remind our viewer or our listener out there, whether you're watching us live or listening to us live, or even the recorded version of this episode, remember that you're limitless, and you've got to awaken the spirit that is within you and live to be a good example, despite whatever it is that you may have gone through or what you may face in the near future, because we never know. Remember Jesse's words and awaken the spirit and become the limitless person that you are, and change a world from your
Yes.
seed. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. But what happens when you connect to that passion and purpose? All you want to do is give. All you want to do is pay it forward. And that's what we're here to do. And I think we can literally shift humanity. Each one of
Mm,
us shows up differently.
yeah.
We can change the world.
Yeah. And please, Jesse, at this point, you may want to share the different ways that you're giving back, where you're helping those people who are going through challenges, those who are in pain, and anything that you may like to share at this point.
Well, I would definitely love to support anybody that's in a depth of suffering, that needs to feel empowered, that needs to find themselves again. You
Mhm.
might think, nope, I've done all the work. I've found forgiveness. I've done all that. We don't know what we don't know, right? The jar can't read the outside of the label. And so I believe to partner with someone that can help you see your blind spots. What is causing limitation in you? If it's me, then fantastic. I'd love to help you. But always be a seeker. Always be a seeker trying to find a way. There is a way. You are beautifully worth it, and you are strong enough and courageous enough to find it. So you can come to my site, which is unshakablelife.com. I also am offering a free, for Anthony's audience, a free 10-step guide to begin the process of your freedom. Sometimes it's just taking those steps that helps open a door to helping you be witness to yourself or your situation differently. Because back when I was in it, I didn't believe there was another way. I thought I had to die in that marriage, and I
Mhm.
couldn't see a way out. So this will help you with some steps and guides to start getting you in the trajectory of the right direction, so that you can start living your limitless life.
And what's in that 10-step guide?
That's what I'm talking about. The
Well,
the the steps.
what are the steps? So maybe one, two, well,
Well,
just
it's an
maybe
acronym for Fierce
introduction.
Grace.
Yeah.
It's an acronym for Fierce Grace. So in there, it has a bunch of different steps, like, speak out, don't keep it quiet, speak on what you're talking about, find the resilience in you, the courage, community of people, tribe. There's a lot of different things in there that can help you take the initial steps to get you where you need to go. So it's my honor to be able to gift that to you. And, if there's a chance that we can meet, then I would love that too. Let's have a conversation. At best, we can see if we're fit to work together. And if not, I certainly will guide you in the way that will serve you best.
Okay. So once again, please remember to go to unshakablelife.com and connect with Jesse. If you're going through any challenge, And even if you may think that you're doing it, sometimes you may never know how far you've been. But she can always look at it and tell you, this is where you are, this is where you need to be. Go on and become the best version of yourself.
Yes, and you don't have to be a victim of your story. You could be a victor, and you can literally make the life of your dreams. Don't be handcuffed by what happened. Let's find the other truth so that you can live your limitless life.
Oh, thank you for that, Jessie. So we are almost coming to the end of this show. But before we go, we would like you to leave us with a few words that we should always remember. Which are they?
Well, I'll repeat the one I said, which is no matter what you're going through, seek the gift. Ask the question, what is good about this? If you can't find it, ask what could be good about this, right? What could be the gift? What could be the opportunity in this moment for me to build a muscle, right? I love fear because fear is a call for courage, right? It's just like, oh, okay, this is where I get to activate courage because courage doesn't exist without the element of fear. So just know that you are beautifully worth a beautiful life, a life of joy, not just mediocrity. That whatever your dream, your big audacious dream is, it's right at your grasp when you believe you can have it. There is no limitation to the human being, only the belief that there is one.
No limitation to the human being, only the belief that there is one. That's so good. We appreciate that very much, Jessie. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Anthony, for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. And also, courage is in the absence of fear. It's going on despite the fear. And yes, you can. Just keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. And know that the courage, it's going to get you through the fear, right? You feel the
Yeah.
fear. The fear is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But you bring courage and you got it. You got it. Everything on the other side of our comfort zone, right? So when you feel your edges being pushed, check in with yourself. Is this fear or is this that beautiful part of you that knows it can kick booty and handle the situation, right? Change struggle to challenge. And my hunch is you'll lean in and you'll take the challenge.
Once again, thank you. We can't thank you quite enough, Jessie, for coming on to our episode. Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, this has been Now Tell Us, and I've been your host, Anthony Moirore, and together with our guest today, Jessie Torres. Torres. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yes, you're doing a great job.
Yes, together with our guest, we tell you to just keep on moving, keep on going. Yeah, despite everything. And that's it for now. We say bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.